All right, this is Bench Talk Live. We are trying something new out today with this mic attached to the phone for the recording. So hopefully we're getting audio. Let me know, guys, if we're sounding good here. So there's more pop in. I'll figure that out. Got a great episode for you today, and doing something a little bit different. The way you're gonna catch these episodes here is going to be playback through YouTube. I don't think I'm going to be uploading them to our traditional podcasts on Spotify and iTunes and all that, just because of the space of this too. Want to make sure that I can get those topic episodes up for you guys. Had a little bit of problem with this mic earlier, so let me know if you guys can hear me clear and if it's coming through the mic well. Sip of coffee to the working man. Got a lot of good bench topics covered today. That'll help you guys out. So we had a few come through Instagram. Again, Instagram on Mondays, I post up on our story a questions box. If you want to drop questions for the podcast episode, feel free to use that on Mondays, and I will answer your questions here. All right. So I wanted to get to one, which was my thoughts on the Inzer Bolt. This is a single ply bench shirt. It's the newer one that came out from Inzer, and I have not tried it. All right, I don't have much of an opinion on it just because I have not used one. I have used the Rage X back in the day. This was a few years back, and it was a good shirt. It was a good shirt, but I'm not familiar with the Inzer Bolt. I'm going with a Super Katana for my single ply run. I like how those are built. I'm excited to get into the single ply version of it. I have a double ply Super Katana. What I like about that versus an Inzer SDP, for example, in terms of multiply shirts, is I like the feedback you get because that material really slices into you. So you get a really good feeling for where that shirt is sitting and the tension. Being able to stay in the tension of the shirt, that's real critical. You can do that really well with a Super Katana. So I'm a fan of that shirt for that reason. But I don't have any familiarity with an Inzer Bolt. So apologize that I can't give you guys more on that. Let me know, guys, if audio's coming up okay. If anyone can give me like a thumbs up or something. Uh, Tips on keeping your butt down. Okay. Now, this is typically a big issue for many lifters when it comes to the bench press is keeping that tuchus down, touching the bench. Right, as you see, once you go to press, oftentimes you see lifters lift their butt up off the bench, and that's an issue because that would be a red light in the meet. Okay, we do not want that. So, what are some ways to stop that from occurring? Well, one would just simply be benching on a unit that is the correct height. Commercial gym benches are typically very low, and especially if you're very long limbed. If you're a tall person, benching at a commercial gym, very, very difficult just because your knees are probably going to be propped up way above your hips, regardless of what you're doing. You're going to have a hard time, especially with feet out flat. Toes back might have to be an option, but uh, what I recommend to get the right height of a competition bench, if you're benching on a commercial gym bench, to get the correct height, I would add yoga mats. Okay, thick yoga mats will help in that scenario because it'll give you height. It'll also give you cushion. The other two tips I can give you is think knees out. Knees out will help you lock that position into place. If you're thinking about driving your hips open, that's going to help lock your hip position into place. A lot of the times, lifters get in trouble with the hips popping up is because they don't do that. They're mostly driving through the floor, and it ends up lifting your butt up. It's more of that kind of bridge up scenario. When you drive knees out, you can't really bridge up like that. So um, that's one of the big cues I'll give someone to try to keep their hips down is knees out hard, open the hips. What's up, Cole? Hey, let me know, guys, if you can hear the audio. Still checking that out, still testing that out. So if you're able to hear the audio well through the mic, let me know. Give me a thumbs up or something. But yeah, Let's see what Cole's got here. I've always been a raw bencher, and I'm moving to single ply. What is the difference between the bar path for single ply versus raw? So single ply versus raw. I mean, any type of bencher. I wouldn't say there's a difference really between maneuvering in a multiply or single ply shirt. The groove remains the same, but in terms of what it's like versus your raw groove, it can be extremely different. A raw groove is typically going to be higher touch point, not going to be as big a difference horizontally. It doesn't mean the bar should be straight up and down, but um, you're not going to have this big discrepancy where you got to really throw the bar back, touch low. But that would be the big difference is you're going to probably, to get a good touch, you got to tuck in low. All right, it's going to be closer to your belly as opposed to um, a raw groove where you're going to be a little bit higher up. All right, so that's going to be a big difference is shirt groove versus a raw groove. That there's not much of a difference in terms of a multi-ply versus a single ply. Stevie says that's a looking like a freshly saved dome, Big B. Appreciate it, buddy. Shave day is actually tomorrow though, but I like to keep it short, keep it trim. Adam Zosma, a big benches should hip butt should be on the bench. What if I start hip off before the bench and complete a rep as it is hip off? Well, you need to have your hips touching the bench. If you are not a competitive power lifter, who's really to tell you what the hell you have to do? I guess you could bench with your ass in the air, but if you're a competitive power lifter, that would simply be a red light, so you would have to have your butt down. You'd have to get used to keeping your butt down, or you're going to miss a lot of benches. If you're not a competitive power lifter, then do what you want to do. Don't matter to me. But yeah, in terms of if that gives you any advantage, well, it gives you a huge advantage. That's why it would be a red light in the meet. If your ass is in the air, it's turning it more into like a decline bench. It's giving you a lot of leverage, which in turn will protect your shoulders. Adam. Yeah, in terms of powerlifting. Yeah, so in terms of powerlifting, definitely have to keep the hips down. There's no way around that. However, what I would say is make sure your hips aren't planted per se. Make sure they're just hovering above the pad. That's a real critical thing to understand is that you don't want to have your hips bearing weight on the pad because you should be actively driving back into your traps. Therefore, you should have your hips just hovering on that bench pad. So contact, yet minimal contact. All right, some questions that came in through Instagram the other day. Let me ask one of these. Stalling halfway on the bench. I want to get into that because that typically everyone will be like, um, that's a lockout weakness. All right, now that's not always the case. In my experience, about 80 to 90% of the time, when I'm looking at these scenarios where someone says I'm stalling out halfway up on the bench press, it's typically because the bottom position isn't so great. Okay, if the bottom position is off, you're going to have a hard time going through to lockout. Think of a dump touch, for example. If you're benching, your forearms fall forward, get in front of your elbows. That dump touch, you're going to be able to probably reverse that up off your chest. And, especially if you're a shirted lifter, that shirt's going to pop you up a bit, but you have no positioning at that point to finish the lift because, again, your wrists are usually going to either you're going to stay in front of your elbows and you're going to flare out, and that you just have nothing under it to press anymore. You're disconnected from your back. It's just too much weight to overcome. Or, you'll get down there in that dump touch scenario and you'll flare the elbows excessively underneath. It's just kind of a natural correction that's going to happen. And your elbows are going to fling underneath the bar. And it's not controlled. It's not tight. You're not going to have any tightness underneath the weight to really finish through. So you're really not able to put yourself in the proper position to actually use your triceps. So it's not a lockout issue. You can train triceps till the cows come home, but unless you address your starting position, your bottom position rather, uh, then you can train triceps all you want. You're still going to have a hard time. And it's still going to be your weak area. So that's the first thing you got to look at is anytime you have a stall out midway up on the bench press, is it actually a tricep weakness? In my experience, I find that typically it is not a tricep weakness. It's a bottom positioning fault that we need to correct. All right. Stevie says, would you ever compete in bodybuilding? Probably not. Most likely would not do that. But who knows? Not out of the question. Not anytime soon. Not anytime soon. But maybe later in life. Who knows? Let's get through Thanksgiving. Adam, thanks for the great content. Big benches. Appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for joining in. Sip of coffee to the working man. Espresso, damn good. Taking cues, taking questions on the YouTube. All right. Keep those questions rolling in. Just filmed some good stuff this morning. We have a good episode coming out this Thursday on quote-unquote Blitz Sessions. These are things that I've been using to supplement my training. Describe how to actually go about doing these sessions, what they entail, the purpose of them, and how to implement them without causing additional fatigue for your planned, scheduled training. Blitz Sessions, these are something that I've been doing lately, going into Gold's Gym, commercial gym space, not allotting myself much time, like 20-30 minutes, and just crushing a body part. And I talk about what to do here in detail this coming Thursday. So check out the Benchcast, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts. These are shorter episodes, they're about 10 to 15 minutes or so, and that one's going to be a really good one. I think that'll help out a lot of people in their training. Typically, it was it was born out of necessity because I wasn't able to get the accessory work in that I'd like with some of the long sessions that we have. So I've had to kind of plan how I'm going to get that work in, that high volume work, because especially a shirted lifter, a lot of it is making sure you're getting substantial training in on your triceps, things like that, upper back. And these are things I had to hit more frequently, more often to gain that size and strength, and started doing these Blitz sessions. And boy, have I've the last few months or so, I've never been more sore when it comes to these different body parts. Like my triceps, I hit these Sunday morning. What is it, Tuesday now. They are still scorching on me. I'm sore. I will probably be sore tomorrow as well. So I'm not going to be hitting triceps in tomorrow's session. It'll probably be my back work, which I'll typically do because, Friday sessions is when we do heavy shoulder benching. And while I have been carrying over a lot of fatigue, like last week, I did a Blitz session on the lats. I did a shit ton of lat pull downs, and I go into these sessions. I don't really have exercises in mind. I don't have reps in mind. I don't stop at a certain rep number. I just smash pull downs. That was simply it. I go and smash pull downs. And you are so sore after. That Friday session, my lats, beforehand, I was like, shit, I'm going to have a hard time using my back. But I try to just be smart about what I'm fatiguing. I'm not necessarily so concerned about coming into that session with some fatigue, especially if it's a consistent model. And everyone really worries too about, what they're training so close to certain things. Like, am I going to be sore coming into this workout? Well, if you are sore, that doesn't mean that you can't be strong that day. A lot of it's mental. It's just if you mentally give yourself that excuse too, like, man, I'm sore today, then you're not going to have a good session. Okay. I found that it's really how you approach things mentally and getting yourself in a certain space and having that confidence and that belief that you can do things. That's probably solely been the biggest turnaround for me in my benching past few months. Is that mental side of things, because I was looking at videos from earlier in the summer, August, something like that, and I would only push myself to about the mid 700s top. And looking back in those videos, weights were moving well. Weights were moving really well, fast. Felt good. But to myself, I was like, well, I lost all this weight. I took a step back. I'm low 700 bencher now. It is what it is. I got to work up slow. And then I just started instilling that confidence, handling these heavy weights, just kind of throwing it on the bar, seeing what'll happen. There was one session where I failed the weight, but I knew it was technical, so I came back and hit that. Went really well. That was a good confidence builder. Just kind of snowballing that confidence to throw on 900 pounds. Just kind of said, F it, throw it on. Never handled that straight weight. And, a lot of it's just the mental side of things. I remember one of those sessions, I could have given myself many excuses. I didn't hardly eat the whole day. Was outside working on the deck most of the day. So, just lugging lumber around and smashing hammers and smashing my body into the wood to get the thing under the deck. And, could have given myself any excuse there to have a shitty session, but was riding that wave. And it's just how you approach these sessions mentally, too, that makes such a huge difference here in your training. Stevie says, I look stage ready. Not quite, buddy. Not quite. We'll keep my shirt on. Mike Frazier, what's up, coach? Can you talk about sinking into the pad even with lighter weight? Great topic, Mike. This is a huge, huge, huge aspect to benching big. Upper back activation. So the hard thing here, when it's heavy weight, it's easier to sink into the pad, I'd say. With lightweight, that's when you need to create that activation. And I don't want to say as much as it's sinking into the pad, because it's not just the weight pushing you down. It's you actively trying to drive yourself into retraction. That's the key thing. All right, so if I'm here, I retract my shoulders, and I just leave them there, and I let that weight load, and I don't chase the weight, that's one thing. And that's what I'd say majority of lifters do. Okay? It's another thing altogether to put myself in that retracted position, have that weight load me down, and then actively try to pull that weight deeper into the pad. You can see I just got crunching on my spine from doing that. That's the activation I'm talking about, guys. So if you're watching this, watch this. All right? I can put myself in a retracted position. I can keep myself there. I can let the weight load me down. All right? Again, that's one thing. All good. Next thing, to tighten up and smash that shit back like that. Okay? That's the difference right there. And you got to do that with light weights and practice that all the way up, because you're going to need that type of intensity and that positioning when you're on the heavy weights. And if you wait till the heavy weights to get that, it's too late. Okay, so that's why for my warm-ups lately, I've been doing the big bend holds. That's something I've been throwing to all athlete programs as a warm-up. That's helped tremendously because it allows me the time to practice that. So I'm doing a lot of retraction stuff, pull downs for the scaps. I'm doing retraction stuff. I already hit my upper back with a peanut ball just to get some additional soft tissue, be able to arch over that and get that upper back extension. Then I go into these movements and then I do the big bend holds. And when I'm doing the big bend holds, you have that weight of the band pulling your arm down. And then I'm focusing on, it's not just me holding that band. It's me driving my arm back into the floor and holding that band and squeezing it and bending it like I would a barbell. And that's been tremendous because that's getting me, tuned up for that activation prior to, even touching any weight. So, and then having the opportunity to warm up and to focus on that, huge. What do you think, guys? Am I a pen behind the ear guy or what? I think this is the new look. I look like a carpenter, eh? Or maybe not. It's a Hilti pen, by the way. So, uh, that was a great question, though, Mike. Minji, and listen, I don't have contacts on, guys, so I'm trying to read this the best I can. The reason I don't is because if I wear my glasses, the ring light that I got providing light, you can see I got these laser beam lights going on reflecting off my glasses. So I'm going to spare you that distraction, and I'm just squinting to try to read these damn things. Appreciate everyone tuning in, dropping your questions. This is a sip of coffee to the working man today. This is my second cup. Minji, how to taper for a meet for bench 3 weeks out. 3 weeks out, I wouldn't be doing much of shit. 3 weeks out is about maybe your last heavy work. Now, this really depends if you're feeling really beat up. In the past 3 weeks out, I'd have some really shitty sessions because I just really needed the extra rest. My forearm was screaming at me, my elbow was hurting, and it really stopped me from benching anything heavy. Now, in those scenarios, you know when you need the rest. And in those scenarios, yeah, I could have been good 4 weeks out. Probably just do RAM work instead. But that 3 weeks out is typically when I'll have most our athletes do their last heavy session. Then it would be opener, and then it would be week of rest. And that's typically how that lays out. For a lot of our female athletes, it'll be, progression to lead up. Then 2 weeks out, it's a heavy session. Then opener, and then into the meet. Like the opener will be like the week of the meet, as opposed to most guys, just because usually the intensities are a bit higher, a little bit harder to recover from. It's last warm-ups leading into the meet. That week of the meet, it's just sort of like an equipped lifter. They're just taking their raw warm-ups, or we're just doing our warm-ups instead of going to our opener or something like that, just to allow that extra recovery. We'll go to 50% weight, something light. Just kind of doing the bench motion without actually loading it up and getting any breakdown or causing any issues. So that's what the 3 weeks look like. You're going to probably have a heavy session in there, an opener, and then warm-ups, something like that, or just taking a week of rest and not doing anything. So it's going to look something like that. Steve, when is a good time to add floor press into the program? So floor pressing is great as a secondary movement or a main movement on a second bench day. And typically with a floor press, I like to use it a little bit earlier in the training cycle. I mean, you could use it whenever, but I like to use it earlier just because I like to use something that's a little bit similar to the bench press as we get closer to the meet. So it would be like a board press or something like that. Pin pressing, another option, because at least you're laying on a bench versus the floor. But if you like the floor press, I mean, you can add it in at any time. You could roll with that for an extended period of time too. I really like using the axle bar for floor press with chains. The way that loads, I really like that. And see, that's like something I would throw in quite a bit. Board pressing is great though, especially close to a meet. So, but floor pressing would be good, especially if it is an actual true lockout strength issue. Royston, just bench 365 for 3 reps. I haven't maxed out. My goal is to bench 405. Well, I'd say, hey, you're right on point for that 405, bud. Hitting 365 for 3, that's great. Minji, you're referring to raw bench, by the way. Yes, so that would be what I explained would be the raw lead up. I was thinking I'm always in tune to defaulting to raw benching, just so I know there's more raw benchers out there than there is equipped lifters, that's for sure. Although that probably would have been a big time reverse back in the day. It was only equipped lifting, really. Sip of coffee to the working man. Sip of coffee to all the apple trees in the world. I'll take a sip to the apple trees. We need more of those apple trees because it's important that we eat apples. You know what they say, apple a day keeps the doctor away. Sip of coffee to all the apple trees out there. Thanks for bringing that up, bud. I'll cheers to whatever else you guys want. Worst bench injury you have seen? that I personally seen, I think one of the latest meets, I think a dude I think he just tore his tricep. I mean, it's not the worst thing that could happen. Um, some injuries that I'm fortunate I didn't see live because that would freaking scar me. Any bar falling on someone, because that can mean death a lot of the times, even after the fact. I remember I was shown this video and told that, I saw a bar, it was like 400 pounds, drop from this dude from arm's length. So my first powerlifting mentor sent me this, showed me this, and he said 2 hours later this dude died because bleeding in his lungs, cracked his ribs and stuff. So that's just no joke. And then it was like a few weeks later, I go into my meet, my shirt tears, weight falls on me, and I'm like, shit. Everyone, Rich Putnam and his crew, they come up to me, try to give me an overkill shirt. They're like, oh no, you can take that again. You can take that again because the shirt ripped, so we'll get you another temp. And part of me is like, I'm new. This is my first equip meet, and I'm just like, man, these dudes, they bench a lot. I don't want to look like a pussy in front of them. And so I was gonna do it, but then I'm thinking of that video, and I'm like, well, shit, maybe I die in an hour. I'm not sure, so maybe I should just go to the hospital, get checked out. And then I told him, like, guys, I think I'm just gonna go to the hospital. So it wasn't a great first introduction, first time meeting all them dudes, but hey, turned out well. So yeah, to get back to that, I mean, torn pecs, those injuries where you see a forearm shatter. This is equip benching. You usually see more of these because the shirt's cutting into your tricep, arm shatter, totally break in and stuff. Listen, man, I'm still young and fortunate. I've never had any injuries. And, shit like that freaks me out, like torn pecs and all that. And I know the likelihood of you going through a full career, lifting at a high level, and not having anything to talk about in terms of major injuries, very, very unlikely. Very unlikely. I'm hoping I'm the once to the blue moon I could go on skates, but I'm assuming, especially when I get a bit older, and it's when I really have to pay attention to recovery. I'm pretty good about knowing my body and knowing when to back off and recovery modalities, but when you're older, this freak stuff happens, and you try to mitigate it the best you can. But I know eventually one day I'm gonna have to bite that bullet, and something bad's gonna happen. It's just kind of part of the thing. That's we put ourselves through a lot, and I try not to think about that, but I'm well aware that one day something bad's probably gonna happen. I'd like to think it's not the bar falling on my face, something like that. What freaks me out is a meat that does not have safeties, face savers and stuff. That freaks me out because a lot of times I have to, I'll subconsciously start pushing away from myself a bit because I'm nervous about having that weight over my head. Even though I'm not thinking about that in the moment, that's what happens. And I have to remind myself, throw that bar back, unfortunately, because, a lot like last meet, Jamie's crew, awesome, always helped me out. These were younger college kids, so I don't know them, or I don't know how long they've been training with him. I don't know how, I'm sure he teaches them very well, but, I'm looking at couple college kids, and I'm thinking in my head, in order to hit this weight, I got to throw this bar back. Likelihood of it falling on my face could be pretty good. So I was like, hey, Jamie, just make sure they know, stay close to the bar, because shit goes south quick. Shit can go south real quick. So, hopefully one day, I can, or I'll be unscathed, but, someday I'm going to have to bite that bullet, I think, my friend. Risk 20, brother, should 85 kilogram male, when benching, breathe into the stomach? So I would breathe into the touch point. Adopt that train of thought. Breathe into the touch point. Allie says, need that fit tee ad, please. So, yeah, she gives me the whole fit tee spiel because the little light ring that I'm using. But hey, remember, guys, if I wear my glasses, all you see is these rays coming out everywhere. But, I think I'd be pretty good for Fit T. I'd be pretty good, if you want to throw me a sponsorship for whatever, if anyone's watching. One of our athletes, Pete, got sponsored by Cowtails, and he was a bodybuilder. He was in a bodybuilding prep, and he was like, it would be funny if you sponsored me kind of deal, and they sponsored him. He still gets Cowtails to this day, and the fudge brownie ones are legit, let me tell you that. Sip espresso for the working man. So, I ate a box of Skittles the other day. That would be cool if I could get them sponsored. All right, let's see. Arif 820, extrusion headache. I'm getting them every time I bench. I cry every time I do. So I don't have much experience with like a real dramatic headache issue like that. That might be something that I go get checked out for if it's like a real thorn in your side, like you're not able to overcome that. Probably something not good. Ruby De Silva. I started to slowly experiment with pause bench on my normal volume that I had been doing without pause. Now I can hold 3 seconds on 5x5 of my volume. Does this mean my max I'm working on is wrong? So what I'm gathering from that is that should you go off, your training max should definitely, for any percentages you're doing, should be based off a paused max. Because if you're going off a number that is a touch and go, it was like once in a blue moon, you hit this weight, touch and go, that shouldn't be a training max. You should dump weight off of that and then base percentage off of that. Because that's especially if you're doing a touch and go once in a blue moon type training max, and then you're going into pause training. You're going to be humbly, surprised there at how decreased the weight needs to be. So yeah, the training max you want to be a good, solid, like 3 command paused bench press. So that's what I take away from that. Keith Kevin, do you take bench press reps till failure? I find a mix of answers online. Some say fail on every set. Some say stop 1 rep before. So typically, all main movement training, nothing's taken to failure per se. If you're doing like a 5 rep, 3 rep max, something like that, we're trying to get the most weight on the bar we can, but we're not like going into a rep knowing there's probably going to be failure in it. You know what I mean? So you gotta have to judge that weight, and sometimes you end up with a 2 rep max. You miss a rep, so it is what it is. We try to avoid it, but it happens. I tried to do a Titan Ram 3 rep max, turned it to a 1 rep max. It was just a technical thing. I misgroove it, and that was it. And I ended the session. So sometimes that happens, but yeah, it's get back to it. I don't usually encourage failing or going to that failure point on main work. Accessories, light accessories, like if you're doing tricep pushdowns or something like that, that would be the only time I'd say, hey, let's go to failure. Deals training, those bench injuries where the bar just drops on them, what exactly causes that? Normally people feel gradually, or is there a sticking point they try to grind through? So yeah, those injuries definitely won't occur from just being able to grind out weight. Because you're able to control it. This is a scenario where you lose control, whether your wrists, usually it's a case of your wrists just get, either you dump the bar forward, because then if that bar gets forward of your forearm, there's nothing holding it. It's just like the friction of your palm. So that bar will flop. You'll just get that quick like that, and that bar is on you. If you're benching in a shirt, that's usually the biggest thing too, is that bar can fall either which way, just if you lose tension of the shirt. As a raw lifter, it's usually just a wrist roll. That's typically what will happen. Adam, sip of coffee to all the bench lovers out there. I'll do that. Sip of espresso for you guys. Yes, sir. Which is better for the raw bench, volume or intensity? I would say both, because you're going to need both. I don't think you're going to get to where you'd like to as quickly as you'd like to, either always benching for volume, lighter weight, and I don't think you're going to do it just simply doing high intensity work for low reps. So you got to have some kind of blend of the both. Adil's training. Elliot Hole says to breathe into the balls. Now I'm confused. So that would be a good cue if we're talking squat or the deadlift. For the bench press, it's breathe into the touch point because you're not really getting much out of that bracing effect. You can brace without breathing into the area. When we're talking squat or deadlift, because of the axial loading on the spine, you need to have a good midsection brace. So yeah, breathe into the balls or whatever you want to think about to get you out of that chest breathing pattern is a good cue. Now, when it comes to bench pressing, we're trying to use our breath to expand a certain area. So if it's my belly, I'm trying to push those upper abs out and breathe into that section. Because when I breathe, it's like I'm inflating like a balloon a little bit. So if I can cut that much off the range of motion, that's advantage to me. So if I'm going to breathe, if I'm touching chest level, low chest here, I'm trying to expand that rib cage up there. Okay. So that's what I have to say to that. But I haven't watched much of Elliot Holtz's stuff. Last I knew, he's kind of going nuts, but I don't know. Sean Clark, I just hit 225 for the first time, but I hit sticking point about 2 inches from lockout. I had to grind through. What things can help me get through that sticking point? So going back to what I was mentioning at the beginning of the podcast there, Sean, I'm sure you probably came in after, but 80% of the time, that mid-range sticking point is typically because the bottom position's off. So I would look there first. Are you keeping a good position in the bottom? Are you dump touching? Are you flinging weight back? Is there a lot of excess elbow movement? Because typically that's the case. Or you're just not loading the lats properly. I would look there because 80-90% of the time, like I said, that's the issue. Bottom position. It's not that your triceps or lockout's weak. It's just the bottom position needs to improve so that you're actually able to use your triceps efficiently. So take a look at that first. You can send me a video if you'd like. Liam224, hi sir. What's up, Liam? Thanks for joining in, buddy. C. Jack Symbol, do you think 140 kilogram lower max is good for a 16-year-old that's 90 kilograms? I think that's awesome. Wherever you're at, just keep striving for more. I mean, it doesn't take much to impress me. It's really how hard you had to work to get to that point. I'm sure you put in a lot of good work. So, yeah, kudos to you, my friend. Reef 820. Basically, when I bench heavy, I don't think about my breathing, and all the pressure goes to my head. This is where I get the headache. Can you give me any tips, bro? Thanks. So, I'm not sure how to help you on that because there is going to be a lot of pressure that builds up in your head. I know when I was a bit heavier, had a little bit higher blood pressure most of the time, it was worse, and I'd often get a lot of nosebleeds. Now that I'm lighter and a lot more fit, now I don't really have that issues, nor do I get as much headaches, really thinking about it. There's less pressure when I'm doing those heavy lifts, so you might just want to check general health too, but in terms of avoiding that pressure, I mean, it's going to be a lot of pressure buildup. It's going to be hard to avoid. Just the setup alone should make your face go red. However, I know some people can be more subject to having those issues. So that's why I would say maybe get that checked out if you get those commonly, because it's probably maybe something going on outside the gym that's causing that. Like I got to get a lot of headaches from not putting the blue light filter on my phone. Once I made that change, because I'm usually on the phone so much per the day, doing social media, doing coaching for our athletes, doing everything. It's a lot of screen time. And without the blue light filter, it really gave me a lot of vicious headaches. And so I would look outside the gym first on how to improve that. Dark Gamer BG, will I get bigger arch with heels up? Will it be big or almost nothing with heels up? So I don't, the whole argument that toes back gives you a bigger arch, I feel like that's not necessarily has to be the case. I think that's mostly the case because it would be easier for someone to attain the arch in that position, whereas it's very strenuous and tough to do that with feet flat. You need to really understand the concept of bottling yourself up into that arch. So I don't think it necessarily needs to attribute to a bigger arch at all. I just think it's easier for most people because they're challenged with the feat of doing that with their feet flat. Adam says, thoughts on Owen Hubbard 12-week raw bench program. I have no familiarity with that, so I'm sorry I won't be able to help you out there, Adam. Yeah, I have no clue what that entails. Sip of coffee for this working man here. I'll take a few more questions. I'm running low on battery here, and we're rounding up, so I'll take a few more. Sip of coffee to the working man. Taking a few more questions, whoever wants to drop in the last few here. And then we're heading out. Check out the Benchcast, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts. This will be replayed on YouTube. Do you think if I went for 3 months from 70 kilograms to 120 kilograms, I will go 6 months from 120 to 190? Highly, highly doubt that would be the case, my friend. Hopefully, I'm hoping for you, but typically progression will slow as you get stronger. Doesn't mean it has to. Like I said, I jumped from a 730 bench to an 820 bench in 5 months. All right, it's got to attack the weak point that I really needed to attack. But that's, it's tough to tell when you'll make progress. You really got to key in on the right things, and progress just isn't going to be linear, and it's going to take longer when you get to a heavier weight. It's just, that's how it is. That's lifting. It's a time game. So, well, I'd like to see that happen for you. I'm letting you know, probably might not be the same progression, but always continue training hard like you're going to make that happen. All right, guys, so we are going to wrap up. First, I just want to let you all know we have a big Black Friday sale going on through the website. Okay, all programs are 50% off. All apparels, at least 20% off, if not more. And all wrap sleeves, compression wraps, all that stuff is 30% off right now. This is our biggest sale of the year. All right, this is going until the end of the weekend, so you have time to jump on bigbenches.com, see what you like. We got some new shirt designs out. So again, no code required. Bigbenches.com, everything is on sale right now, so make sure, pick something up. Holidays are around the corner. Now would be the time to order. Make sure everything gets shipped in time. If you order any wrap sleeves, I'll get that out same day right now, okay? So check it out, bigbenches.com, big-ass Black Friday sale. The whole store is up to 50% off. So definitely check that out, guys. It mean a lot to me, have your support there. And thank you for tuning in to the podcast. I'm very, very, very appreciative of your time. Spending a little bit of your Tuesday here with me, talking some bench press. I have a lot of fun with these. So thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope you all have a fantastic week and an even better Thanksgiving. Enjoy it, whether you're with your families or not. Whatever the scenario, make sure you enjoy it and enjoy being around everyone and eating turkey and all that fun shit. For me, I get more amped about the potatoes, believe it or not. Throw a little potato valley, throw a little gravy in there. That's the lava, and then it's gone. All right, guys, enjoy your holidays. Talk to you guys next week.